We've got an emergency build, like very first one and for as long as I can remember. Emergency build. Don't know what it is, just know it's some TaylorMades. Let's do a boxes to builds number 5. Welcome back to my golf shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is my golf channel where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, golf club fittings, all so your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom, and that way you get more of the information when it drops, and it also gets the word out to the YouTube universe. Now, we also have a live stream. It's on Mondays, 17:30, 5:30 p.m., and we talk about this very same stuff. It's just live. We're starting to get a few more extra folks in there, so if you would, join us. Like, subscribe on that one as well. All right, emergency builds. So what we have is a previous customer has golf clubs stolen, and he has since come up against another set of the same thing, and he wants me to do the same thing. Although it's been so long, I don't remember what it is. So we got to get into it, and we got to take it apart. I'm assuming what this is going to be is a golf shaft replacement, cut, bend, that kind of thing when we get down to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some tips and tricks on what to do when preparing for something like this while doing these types of repairs. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started. First things first, we've got to open this box. My best Peter McKinnon knife, which is now a brandy spanking new hide knife. These things are invaluable. So we're going to open this guy up, go right along the edge here, because there is a lot of, oh man, this game got the secure tape on it. All right, let's go the other way. All right, I got that. All right, let's see what we got. Now we gotta open it this way. And got a few more. And on here. There we go. Ooh, all right. This is a Golf Pride bag that's empty. Oh, some TaylorMade ferrules. I remember those. I called these the Purdue units, but yeah, they're pretty nice. And I think he's over by Pittsburgh. I don't even know where this came from. I just know it's in Ohio. So we got some MCC 4 pluses. They're standard size. So, and they're in the same configuration. There's a old ferrule. Let's get all the grips out. All right, so we're going to make a little custom looking set because of the ferrules. Looks like we got a brand new Vokey wedge, an SM9, a 60T. That means that's a low bounce, very heel and toe relief. And it's got a S200 in it. Let's see what this says. Okay, Marysville, Ohio. Install shafts with the custom ferrules. Shafts and logos down, so we're not going to do too much with that. Install the ferrules onto the Vokeys, shaft logo down. And install the Golf Pride grips, everything logo down. Bend the wedges 1 strong, angle 64. Okay, so we're not a lot of specialized stuff. Here's another one. Is that same broken ferrule? Gone with that one. Alrighty, another wedge. It's a 52 DBF, or no, 08. Looked like DBF upside down. That's old Submariner thing. All right, what else we have? Hey. Dynamic goals. Okay, here we go. Oh, I see. We got heads and we got to put shafts together, even better. And then 56. Alrighty, so Heads. Heads. And more heads. Okay, well, that makes sense. Uh-oh, he sent those ferrules. All right. That's what that ferrule was. They've popped off the heads, and they're broken off. They're worthless now. All right, let's get rid of this and see what we got. Looks like we got some P7MBs. All right, P7MBs. Now, he wanted those special ferrules. And we've seen a few of them falling around in the box. And they were already glued in. Alrighty, well, we're going to unglue them and see if they're centering. Okay, so we got a couple of problems we got to deal with. Alright, you see how these, some of them broke off in transit, some of them didn't. And he wants these in its place. Now the real problem here is that this thing takes a shoulder ferrule, and these obviously are not. So what I've got to do is figure out if this is a centering ferrule or not. So I'm going to heat this up, I'm going to clean this out, I'm going to put a shaft in there, and if it's wobbling around real hard, then it's a centering ferrule. If it's in there nice and solid, then it's not. So let me go figure this out real quick. All right, so I am back, and as you can see, I've knocked off all the ferrules. Why did I do that? Well, number one, the golfer wants these on there. The real trouble is, will they fit in these guys? And we're using some dynamic gold mid X100s. It says X100s and it says 115. So for all the guys out there who think X100, it's more like 115 than it is X100. So anyway, the idea was, did they wobble around in there? And as you can see, not real bad. Now, why not real bad? Because I've left the collars in there. All right, so what I did is I went back in there, and you can see some of it sticking out. And some of these that didn't come in good shape, I'm going to cut. But what I did here is I went to another collared ferrule, cut the collar off, and got it in there, and it's solid as a rock. And that's what I'm looking for, is that kind of support that this thing is going to get. Could I have done it without it? Yes. I just wouldn't feel comfortable without leaving the collars in there. So, as a recap, what I did is I cut off all the original ferrules, leaving the collars in there. The ones that got damaged to a point that I don't like, got a new ferrule or a new collar in them, and then we're just going to use these. Now, in a lot of cases, what I would do is I would weigh everything, and I think I'm still going to. I'm going to weigh everything. We're going to write it down on our build sheet, which is this new one right here. And in order to make sure I don't have any outliers, to see if I might have to add weight. And then we're just going to put it together, because everything is going to be logo down. They're taper tips, so I can't do any frequency matching. The minute he said logo down, the spine of flow went out of the water. And so that's what we're going to do. So first tip is, if you got a collared ferrule or collared hosel, and you want to use something that doesn't, then you can cut the collar off of other ones and put them in. It doubles your cost, but you can still get her done. All right, so let me go weigh, and then we'll talk about that when we get done.
Hello.
Hi, is Josh there? Josh, Jim McCleary at McGolf. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. How about you?
Good. Hey, we got your stuff, and I took it apart, or I took the heads and the ferrules apart. So I think that we can use the other ferrules. What I did is I cut the original ferrules off, and I kept the collars in there so that we can use the BB and Fs.
Gotcha. That's a great idea. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So
I guess that's why you're the pro.
There you go. Hey, the other part is that these heads, I think, are light. All right, and by weights, from what we've done for you in the past, they're like one whole head light. So what I'm looking at is I'm going to put some weight in, but are you more favorable to something that's a little heavier or a little lighter? If I was to hit, because you've asked for D2 in the past. If I hit D3 or a little higher, is that gonna be all right or no?
No, that should be fine.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to check in because I'm gonna have to add some weight.
D3 be fine.
Okay, because I'm gonna have to add some fairly significant weight. It's gonna feel kind of weird, I think, but I'm gonna add probably between 6 and 8 grams per head. On the top end, on the bottom end, it'll be less because the differences get a lot closer. So,
Okay.
and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to match them up to you sent the 790s before. I'm just going to try and match those because the shafts you sent are really, really close on those and they're the same grip. So I'm going to try and match that head weight and we'll go from there.
Cool.
All right.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay. So just so you know, just so that you know, I'm doing a video on these things, and I'm recording this phone call as part of the video.
Oh, great.
So it's a good.
Be on your videos. That's cool.
That's it.
Always enjoy them. So, especially that Jack Nicklaus mirror irons. That was pretty cool.
Those were really, really nice. The guy really ended up liking them. That was pretty cool.
Good.
All righty, man. Let me get these things built, and we'll turn around and. I don't think nothing ships out of here on Sunday, so it'll certainly leave on a Monday.
All right, that sounds like a plan. I appreciate your help.
Okay, bud. Talk to you later.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.
Bye. All right, so you heard the phone call. So what I ran into after weighing and all these things is that the heads are at least 1 full club light, which means around 7 grams. Now, we've apparently done 2 extra builds for this character, and one was with LA golf shafts, and the other one's with these same ones that we have here. And the second build with the same golf shafts came out very, very close. So what I'm going to do is try and match those numbers, maybe go just a hair heavier in order to ensure I get those numbers. And I had to make sure that being heavier was okay to the golfer. Now, these are X100s and we're playing blades, so I'm going to assume that, yeah, it's okay. The real issue here is that these clubs were very, very light. In fact, they almost appear as if they were, certain companies make what they call A and B type heads, and A heads are lighter than B heads, or B heads are lighter than A heads, depending on the maker. And these seem to be in that category where this was made for something that might be an extra long set. So we're going to add some weight. You heard about 6 to 8 grams, depending on what I need to order to match it up, and we'll go from there. So let's go add some weight. All right, adding weights. Now, what I tend to do is it's just basically a tackle box, and it's full of different styles, types of weights. One's for the Wishon or the clubs that may have a pocket to receive weights in them. I have some brass weights, some very heavy lead weights. I even have some tungsten with the rubber coating. I'm starting to use more of these where it's more about the pin than it is the base. And again, some more brass. And then these. Now, we're going to talk about these tip weights. So in a lot of cases, tip weights come in 2 different sizes, well, 3 to be exact. One for graphite shafts, and in the most common will look a lot like these. They'll have a pin with a significant amount of weight on it. Now this is a pretty heavy one, and what happens here is this just gets smaller. All right, I normally don't use those a lot because I don't do a lot of weighting in graphite. However, I have. And now what I'm doing is I'm using these. And these are really kind of cool in the fact that if I want to make, this is a 10 grammer, if I want to make it 8, 6, 5, 4, whatever, I can just trim this thing down, and there's one weight for you instead of having a whole bunch of those. Now, in the ones that go into steel shafts, you have a choice. You have a choice between a 355 and a 370 tip. And sometimes you just get stuck. And the difference obviously is the diameter, right? So and these are 355 shafts, and I just picked one out, and it fits really good right in there. Sometimes you're stuck and you just don't have that, and you have the thicker ones, and they don't want to fit, right? So how do you make that work? Well, you're going to have to pound it in there. Now, I can't tell you how many of these things I've sent flying across the shop until I really found a good method, and this is what I'm going to share with you, is a good method to make it so that you're successful each and every time. And what you've got to do is you've got to chamfer the edge. So you got to cone the edge. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and hit it at a 45, and you're going to make this thing a 45 all the way around. And what that does is that forces that weight to sit in there and center out. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea. So I have this, and because it's so close, I like to use a pair of pliers. It doesn't matter what kind, really. You know, a standard pair of pliers. I put it in here, and it's going to get noisy. And it looks like that. It's just coned. And then what you do is, and it sits in there, and now it sits in there, and I don't have to balance it anymore. All right, now the best thing to do here is you have a solid surface to which to pound on, which I always have a block of wood down here, right? And then you use the hammer. You don't need a regular hammer. I think the regular hammer would actually mushroom the end of it. I like using the plastic. This is a dual bounce hammer. And what you do is, once this thing is in here, you start wrapping this guy until it's all the way down. Now, what'll happen is, it's going to strip off some edge, and you'll see just a real thin, it almost looked like tin foil sticking out. And all you do is you go right back into here, and you just sand it down just like you're prepping the tip of a shaft, and you're good to go. For me, that's been 100%, so I'm sharing that with you. All right, so I think I've got all the right weights. We had to put in a couple of 7s and 8s. We had to put in a whole bunch of 6s and 1 4 in order to kind of get even with everybody. Just so happens these are for the 355s, so I don't have to do any of what I just showed you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to prep the tips here, and then we're going to talk about what we've got to do with these BB and F ferrules. So let me get these. Alrighty, so BB and F ferrules. These are really nice ferrules. I am not a fan of the long ones. I like the shorties that they've got on there, and they're basically the same color configurations, they're just shorter. I mean, why? It's just because it fits on the belt better. I think there's a classic look to these, don't get me wrong. I'm just personally not a fan of the really, really long ones. But the color combinations that some of these guys have come through is pretty amazing. But the short ones I just like better. And it has to do with molding the ferrule, because what I have to do is I have to, you know, I'm going to shape this much of the ferrule, and it has this opportunity to have this piece, and I don't like that. It looks ugly. So I have to go back and I have to do it twice. And again, I'm not a big fan of doing things twice. And the shorties don't allow me to do that. So it's just a little extra work. That's just me crying in my beer. Anyway, in most cases, when you're doing 370s, these are very, very, very tight fits, okay? And there's a couple of ways that you can get these to come on. Number one is you can heat them, but these are from pretty stout ferrules. So you only want about 5-10 seconds of heat, and then you got to really try and push them down. That is a lot of effort. And it can be done, and if that's the way you want it to do it. Now, I've done that in the past, and I'm 99.9% good. The 1% is I actually folded one because it got too hot. And you had to kind of mold it back, and it was never exactly the same. The other way to do it is, and although this isn't a 3/8 drill, is get a 3/8 drill, put this thing in a vise or a clamp, and gently go through it and just get to the end. You barely get to the end, and then get back out. And what that does is that makes it easier for this thing to slide in. It just makes things So much easier to install when you do that. It doesn't ruin the bottom, it doesn't ruin the top. Now, the ones that have significant layers on them, and I've got one. Hold on a minute. I was just doing another build with these, and so if you have them with significant amount of layers that look a lot like that, that's a lot of color. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rings. 12 rings. All right. That is a recipe for breakage if you're going to be drilling. So you have to be very, very careful. Now, this one is much more stout. It only has about 5 or 6. So I'm not thinking that that would be a big deal if you had to do that. With this one, I'd be very, very careful. All right. Now, the thing is with those, things with these, because they're so good, is even if you do break them or snap them and make them come apart, you can put them back together and glue them in between the rings and push them together and shape them, and they look just like they did before. That's the beauty of having so many layers or so many rings. The real trouble is it's very delicate, and you have to know that going into it. Since these are 370s and these are 355s, they're going to slide on like nobody's business. So now we always have to do is put the weights in, put the glue together, and we're on our way. So now in this particular instance, and this is where I'm going to start harping a little bit, is because it's an emergency, we got to turn this thing around quick. I'm going to use the 3M DP810 Black. Now the DP810 Black sets very, very, very fast. So you only get 3, 4 clubs out of the way. 6 is my record. And that's everything set up, ready to go, and no extra. With the putting in the weights, that's going to be problematic. So I'm making room. I'm going to try and get, since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One of them I got to get 4, and the other one I got to get 3. So I've got 2 pieces of cardboard, 2 mixing sticks. There we go. I got all my ferrules laid out. Everything's laid out, ready to rock and roll. So now it's a real trick. Let's see if we can get 4 or 5 done when we get ready to go. Alrighty. Let's see what we got. And this time we put on our quick center before we start stirring so we don't waste any extra time. Alright, let's go. Alright, so here we go. A little bit of glue on the shaft first to accept the ferrule. We get that on there. Always wipe my hands before touching the club head. There we go. Had to get past the collar. Alright. What I like doing is going in there a little bit, about halfway in, make sure everything is getting spread around very, very neat. The golfer wanted logo down. There's logo down. Make sure I get the sound that I want. And there was the piece I was forgetting. My 2x2 wipe off. That just cost me the 4th head right there. We'll see. Alrighty. Got that. And next one. Let's see how we can go. Oh, you know what I didn't do? See, there's my mistake. Right there. The weight. Now I'm definitely not going to get the 4th one. Because now I got to push this ferrule back a little bit because I don't have enough room. Give me a second. I just had to slide the ferrule up. There we go. Now let's do it again. Looks like the 4th is going to be on the 2nd set. All right. All right, now let's get her going. This one gets the 8. There we go. It's going right by these collars real well. I'm happy with that. Got to move a little bit faster. And this is by far and away one of the most important pieces, is getting all this extra glue off, because that is just a whole lot of extra work. You don't want to have to do much later on down the road. Alrighty, let's get that third one. Get this. Get this. I can already tell it's getting sticky because it's starting to get stringier. There we go. Yep, already done. See that globby stuff? That's the last one for this guy. I could probably sneak another one in, but we've got time, and now we have our method in. And that's it. Okay, well, that was just the end of that. I got my 3. Now I got to get my record going for the 4. Alrighty, so for more of a entertainment view, we're going to speed this next one up, and you can watch me do it in fast time. So here we go. Voila. Alrighty, so this is the speed glue, right? This is what I was saying about it's going to set itself very, very quickly. Now I have 3 wedges I have to deal with, and basically all I'm doing is I'm going to take them apart, put them basically logo down, which there's only one that's got a band logo on it. And we're going to put some more of these ferrules on it, and I need 3, and I've got 1, 2, and 3. So I got to take these things apart. By the time I get ready to glue these other ones will be done in order to go on with those. So if you want, and this is just a simple remove a steel shaft. I've done those in the past. You can go and look in the library and find that out. And then we're going to come back to cutting. So give me some time and we'll come right back. So I wanted to show you how fast that this glue works. Now all I did was take apart 3 wedges, took the old ferrule off, put the new ferrule on, clean them up obviously, and then glued them back together to the point. This is the glue, and you can see right now that this is from the wedges. All right, and it's already starting to get sticky. This, remember the first 3 I did? Already hard. Second 3 I did? It's already hard. So we can use these, or at least we can make them up now. I always get 2 uses out of a popsicle stick. Alrighty. So the next part is we got to finish the ferrules and trim them up. Alright, shaping the ferrule is going to be a little bit different because if you look, that's how much I get to shape before I leave this much over. Now there isn't really a whole lot edge that I have to take care of, which means that the shape is going to be pretty good. So what we're going to do is about 2 or 3 times around max, and then we're going to move it over to right here and do 1 or 2, and then that should be good to go. So I'm gonna make a little bit of noise, so more music. So what you didn't get to hear on when I did my most expensive set of irons rebuild was doing all the cross hatching and all the things that we wanted to do here. Now I did talk behind it, but now you'll be able to hear it all at the same time. So cross hatching, what I'm doing is I'm going 90 degrees from the way that I took the material off on the machine. Cross hatching comes from doing a lot of detail work on cars. One of my favorites is Larry at Ammo NYC. He does a lot of good work over there, and he explains it very, very well. He's also a golf nut, I guess. So maybe, Larry, if you're watching, hey, let's do something. Yeah, right. Okay, so it's 90 degrees. It's a very wetted 2x2 towel, paper towel with acetone. Now, acetone by itself can be dangerous. You want to look at the MSDS or look at the warnings on the back if you have those susceptibilities. So far, so good for me. And this has been 20 plus years, but I don't dip my hand in it. I just leave it on here, and I minimize my time for exposure, and that's the key for most hazardous things. Okay, so I didn't need any extras. We'll let that over here to set. Acetone tends to evaporate very, very fast. I can get on there correctly. There we go. And we'll set it off to the side. Now in that same time frame that I've done all this, just to kind of give you the glue, remember that glue where I couldn't move it? Now it's already hard. So we're going to catch the wedges up with the rest of the irons. I don't know, you guys put in the show notes below. Are you fans of the very long ferrules, or do you like the shorter ones? Put them down in the show notes and let's find out. Now the other part of this on this wedge is that there was a sticker, and the sticker was getting beat up by the ferrule, and so what I did is I ended up pushing them off, and then we're just pulling the sticker off, and that way it doesn't look bad. There we go. I got to take a little bit more off on that one. We'll get that one with a knife. And it had some, the adhesive was still on it, so we're going to take some of that off. All right. Good to go. All right, last bit of this is polishing. Polishing is the cross hatching. It's just going right back to the other way. And again, this is fine yellow polishing compound. It's called H0813. It's from Grizzly. It's a Mazerna product. All right, so that's basically finishing off the ferrule. Why do I do this part of it? Because they look pretty shiny without it, right? And they do, except for when you put the acetone on it, it tends to soften the ferrule, and that's the reason why you saw me with the irons before the wedges. It gives the acetone time to evaporate off and let the plastic firm up, and this is what gives it the final shine, the final coating, the final protection, other than the wax I put on it, which is nothing. This is far more important. And it gives it that last final really nice shine. It makes it look pretty good. All right, so now all I got to do is I got to cut them to length, and we're going to grip them. They all have to be logo down. And if you look at my last video on the expensive irons, I show you how to do that with 2-inch tape in order to be able to put the grips on. So take a look at that. And what I'm going to do is we'll come back and we'll show you what it looks like and whether or not my adding of the weight got me to where we wanted. So give me a few more minutes and we will talk about that. got them all cut, we got the grips on, and we got them all polished up, and we're going to do lofts and lies here in just a moment. And right now you should be seeing the finished product. I'm really quite happy with these things. The ferrules turned out very, very nice. Everything's nice and shiny. The grips are grippy, the whole 9 yards. Finally, did we get the swing weight? The answer is yes. Yes, we did. We hunted it around. We were looking at D2, and I was anywhere from D1 to D2, and the wedges were in the D3, D5, D6 kind of. They just got heavier as they went on. And I think that's what he wanted, so we're going to be good there. So it came out pretty good, so it was good having records because those heads were seriously light. And that's the reason why we weigh everything before we go to do these assemblies, so we know what we would run into, because it's just a pain in the butt in order to have to take them apart and start all over again. So if you didn't learn anything else, learn it, get everything set up the way you want it before you get to assembly. So again, if you learn a little something, that's great. If you like doing this and you get a lot out of your depth, give us an email and we can help you out of it. The other part is we have the live stream Mondays at 5:30 p.m., 17:30 all Eastern time. It's a live version of this very same stuff. It's a pretty nice little show. People are having fun. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.